A triple-decker purple bus that squeezes between buildings, beds that slide across the floor, and a talking, shrunken head. The night bus isn't just movie magic, it's built on real engineering, practical effects, and clever filmmaking tricks that most fans never notice. We're going to examine the real construction, the practical effects, the design decisions, and the production challenges that brought this impossible vehicle to life. Everything you're about to hear is verified and sourced from production records, cast interviews, and behind-the-scenes documentation. If you're a fan of film history and practical effects, hit subscribe. Let's dive in. Number 22. The Night Bus was a real full-scale vehicle. The Night Bus wasn't purely CGI. Production designer Stuart Craig and his team built 3 full-scale, road-legal versions of the bus for filming Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. These weren't set pieces, they were actual functioning vehicles that could be driven on public roads under supervision. The base vehicles were vintage AEC Region 3 double-decker buses from the 1960s, which were then extensively modified. One version was left as a standard double-decker for exterior shots. Another was modified to appear as a triple-decker using forced perspective and practical add-ons. The third was stripped down for interior filming. This decision to build real buses gave the filmmakers practical lighting, real physics, and authentic movement that CGI alone couldn't replicate in 2004. Number 21. The purple color was chosen for visibility and contrast. The Night Bus's distinctive purple paint job wasn't arbitrary. Production records confirm the color was specifically selected because it contrasted sharply with London's grey and beige urban environment, making it visually pop on screen. Purple also has historical associations with British transport. Certain vintage bus layouts used unconventional colors. The production team tested multiple shades before settling on a vibrant violet that would photograph well under different lighting conditions. This wasn't about looking magical in a fantasy sense. It was about practical filmmaking. The color needed to read clearly on film, stand out in wide shots, and remain distinct even in darker scenes filmed at night or in overcast British weather. Number 20. The interior was built separately from the exterior. The interior of the Night Bus, the swinging beds, the chandelier, the narrow aisles, was not filmed inside the actual buses. Standard film practice dictated that interior scenes were shot on a soundstage set that exactly replicated the bus layout, but allowed for camera movement, lighting rigs, and crew access. The set was built at Leavesden Studios with removable walls, allowing cinematographer Michael Saracen and director Alfonso Cuarón to position cameras in ways that would be impossible inside a real bus. The dimensions matched the exterior vehicle, but the soundstage version had no engine, no chassis, and could be mounted on a motion control rig to simulate movement. This is standard practice in vehicle-based filmmaking. Number 19. The Shrunken Head was a practical puppet. The talking shrunken head hanging from the rearview mirror, one of the film's most memorable characters, was created by the creature effects team at Warner Bros. Studios. It was a sophisticated animatronic puppet operated by puppeteers off-camera using rods and remote controls. The voice was provided by Lenny Henry, a well-known British actor and comedian. The puppet's facial movements were mechanically synchronized to pre-recorded dialogue during post-production. Some shots used digital enhancement to smooth out lip movements, but the physical puppet gave the actors a real reference point to interact with. This hybrid approach, practical puppet enhanced with digital touch-ups, was common in early 2000s filmmaking before full digital characters became standard. Number 18. The squeezing between buildings effect combined practical and digital techniques. The famous sequence where the Night Bus squeezes between 2 other vehicles on a narrow London street was achieved through a combination of methods. On-location shots used a real bus driving through actual London streets, but the narrowing effect was created digitally in post-production by industrial light and magic. The bus itself did not physically compress. Digital artists manipulated the width and perspective of the vehicle in the frame. Reference footage of London streets was shot separately, then composited with the bus footage. According to VFX supervisor Roger Guillet, the goal was to maintain physical believability while showing something visually impossible. The lighting and reflections on the bus had to match the surrounding environment, requiring frame-by-frame adjustments. Number 17. Real London streets were used for location filming. Several exterior sequences of the Night Bus were filmed on real streets in London, specifically in the borough of Lambeth and near Grimald Place in Islington. These weren't closed studio backlots, they were actual city streets temporarily shut down for filming. The production team obtained permits from local councils and worked with London transport authorities to ensure safety. Stunt drivers with commercial vehicle licenses operated the buses during these sequences. Because the buses were road legal, they could be driven under normal traffic conditions when cameras weren't rolling. This added authenticity to the film's London setting and gave the bus real weight and presence in the environment rather than relying entirely on green screen compositing. Number 16. The triple-decker configuration was structurally impossible. From an engineering standpoint, the night bus's triple-decker configuration is physically impossible on a real vehicle. Standard double-decker buses already push the limits of center of gravity stability. Adding a third deck would make the vehicle dangerously top-heavy, especially during turns or sudden stops. Production designer Stuart Craig acknowledged this in interviews, stating the design was intentionally exaggerated for comedic and visual effect. On screen, the third deck was achieved using forced perspective, digital compositing, and carefully framed shots that made the bus appear taller than it actually was. The full triple-decker was never built as a functional vehicle, only as partial set pieces and digital models. Number 15. The beds were on a sliding track system. Inside the night bus, the beds appear to slide wildly from side to side as the bus swerves through traffic. This effect was achieved practically on the soundstage set using a concealed track system beneath the floor. The bed frames were mounted on wheeled bases that ran along metal tracks, allowing them to slide back and forth on cue. Stunt performers and actors were secured with hidden safety harnesses during these sequences. The motion was controlled by crew members off-camera pulling cables, or in some shots, by hydraulic systems synchronized with the motion control rig. This gave the actors real movement to react to, which enhanced the authenticity of their performances compared to simulating everything digitally. Number 14. The chandelier was both practical and digital. The chandelier hanging inside the bus was another hybrid element. A real functional chandelier was hung from the soundstage set's ceiling for close-up shots, giving the actors a practical light source and something tangible to react to. In wide shots and during extreme motion sequences, the chandelier was digitally replaced or enhanced to exaggerated swinging movement. This approach allowed for realistic lighting and reflections in close-ups while giving the filmmakers freedom to create exaggerated physics in action sequences. According to production notes, the real chandelier weighed approximately 40 pounds and was secured with reinforced rigging to prevent accidents during filming. Number 13. The bus conductor costume was based on 1950s London transport uniforms. Stan Shunpike's costume, worn by actor Lee Ingleby, was directly inspired by vintage London transport conductor uniforms from the 1950s. Costume designer Gianni Tamime researched historical photographs and museum archives to ensure period accuracy. The uniform features authentic details like brass buttons, a peaked cap, and a ticket punch pouch worn on the belt. This wasn't random. Tamime wanted the night bus crew to feel like a parody of real British public transport, grounding the magical vehicle in recognizable cultural references. The uniform's slightly worn and ill-fitting appearance was intentional, adding to Stan's comedic disheveled character while maintaining historical authenticity. Number 12. Ernie Prang's character was partially inspired by real London bus drivers. Ernie Prang, the bus driver played by Jimmy Gardner, was characterized as an elderly, somewhat erratic driver, a comedic nod to the stereotype of older British bus drivers known for aggressive city driving. Gardner, who was in his 70s during filming, brought authenticity to the role, and his performance was informed by real observations of London transport drivers. The production didn't exaggerate his age for effect. Gardner was genuinely elderly, which added credibility to the character's slightly out-of-control driving style. According to interviews, director Alfonso Cuarón encouraged Gardner to play Ernie as confident but oblivious, mirroring the absurdity of a magical bus navigating Muggle traffic. Number 11. The steering wheel was oversized for visual comedy. The night bus's steering wheel, prominently featured in shots of Ernie Prang driving, is significantly larger than a standard bus steering wheel. This was an intentional design choice by the art department to create visual comedy and emphasize the bus's cartoonish, exaggerated nature. The oversized wheel made Ernie's frantic steering movements more pronounced on camera, enhancing the comedic timing of the driving sequences. In practical terms, the wheel used during filming was a non-functional prop attached to a stationary set piece, while the actual buses driven on location had standard steering mechanisms. This separation of visual design and practical function is common in film production. Number 10. The emergency stop mechanism was entirely fictional. In the film, the night bus performs sudden, physics-defying stops, throwing passengers forward. While this makes for great comedy, no such braking system exists or could exist on a real vehicle. The effect was achieved on set using the motion control rig, which could simulate sudden deceleration by jerking the soundstage set backward while cameras and lighting remained stationary. Actors were secured with harnesses and given cues to lurch forward on command. In some shots, digital effects exaggerated the motion further. Real buses use air brake systems that are legally required to decelerate gradually to prevent passenger injury. An instantaneous stop, as shown in the film, would cause serious harm. Number 9. The bus's route was not based on real London geography. The night bus's route through London, as shown in the film, does not correspond to real London geography. The sequence was edited together from footage shot at multiple disconnected locations and combined with CGI environments. Film editors use creative geography, a technique where locations are rearranged for narrative flow rather than geographic accuracy. For example, the bus appears to travel through central London, suburban areas, and narrow alleys in quick succession, distances that would take much longer in reality. This is standard practice in filmmaking, especially in fantasy films where the story takes precedence over real-world logistics. Local viewers familiar with London would recognize the geographical liberties taken. Number 8. The night bus theme was composed specifically for this sequence. Composer John Williams wrote a distinct musical theme for the night bus sequence, separate from the main Harry Potter motifs. The theme features whimsical jazzy brass elements and fast-paced percussion that mirrors the chaotic movement of the bus. Williams used tempo changes and syncopation to match the editing rhythm of the scene, creating a sense of unpredictable motion. According to the film's music editor, the score was written after the scene was edited, allowing Williams to compose specifically to picture. This ensured the music perfectly synchronized with visual gags such as the bus squeezing between vehicles and passengers sliding across beds. The theme has since become one of the franchise's most recognizable musical cues. Number 7. The opening scene was filmed practically in a London suburb. The opening sequence, where Harry summons the night bus in a dark suburban street, was filmed on location in Palmer's Green, North London. The street, residential and quiet, was closed to traffic during night shoots. Practical lighting was used to create the moody, dimly lit atmosphere. Streetlights were dimmed or gelled, and additional lights were placed off-camera to simulate the bus's arrival. Daniel Radcliffe performed his own stunts for the sequence, including falling backward onto a padded mat placed just out of frame. The arriving bus was a real vehicle driven by a stunt driver, giving Radcliffe a genuine object to react to, which enhanced the authenticity of his startled performance. Number 6. The newspaper, Stan reads, was a functional prop. The copy of the Daily Prophet that Stan Shunpike reads on the bus was a fully designed printed prop created by the art department. It featured complete articles, photographs, and magical moving images achieved through practical rear projection techniques during close-ups. For wider shots, static printed versions were used. Graphic designer Mirafora Mina, responsible for most of the Harry Potter film's printed materials, ensured every visible detail was accurate to the Wizarding World's aesthetic. The newspaper's date, headlines, and even classified ads were period appropriate to the film's timeline. This level of detail wasn't always visible on screen, but added to the world building and gave actors authentic props to interact with. Number 5. The hot water bottle joke was a British cultural reference. At one point, Stan Shunpike offers Harry a hot water bottle, a common British comfort item used for warmth in bed. This detail, included in both J.K. Rowling's novel and the film, is a culturally specific reference that international audiences might miss. Hot water bottles were especially common in mid-20th century Britain before central heating became standard in homes. By including this detail, the filmmakers reinforced the night bus's nostalgic, old-fashioned British character. It's a small but deliberate choice that grounds the magical vehicle in real British culture, appealing to the UK audience's sense of familiarity while adding period flavor to the Wizarding World. Number 4. The bus was digitally erased from background shots. In several shots, particularly wide city views, the night bus needed to be digitally erased from frames to avoid continuity issues. Because the bus was brightly colored and highly visible, it sometimes appeared in the background of shots where it wasn't supposed to be. Visual effects artists at Industrial Light and Magic used frame-by-frame rotoscoping to paint out the bus and reconstruct the background environment. This is standard practice in location shooting. Unintended elements frequently appear in frame and must be removed in post-production. The process is time-consuming but essential for maintaining visual continuity and ensuring the final film appears seamless. Number 3. The Leaky Cauldron arrival. Was filmed at a different location. The scene where the night bus arrives at the Leaky Cauldron was not filmed at the same location as the pub's exterior seen elsewhere in the series. The Leaky Cauldron's exterior was a set built on the backlot at Leaves and Studios, allowing for controlled lighting and camera placement. The night bus was driven onto the backlot and positioned precisely for the shot. This separation of locations is typical in film production. Exteriors, interiors, and vehicle arrivals are often filmed in completely different places and then edited together. The audience perceives a single location, but in reality, multiple sets and locations were used to construct the sequence. Number 2. The film's night bus differed significantly from the book description. J.K. Rowling's original description of the night bus in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban mentions a purple triple-decker bus, but provides limited visual detail. The film's design team took significant creative liberties, adding elements like the shrunken head, the swinging chandelier, and the exaggerated slapstick physics. Rowling was consulted during the design phase and approved the changes, understanding that visual storytelling required broader comedic interpretation. The book's tone is more understated, while the film embraced a more exaggerated, cartoonish style under Alfonso Cuarón's direction. This is a common and necessary adaptation process. Novels and films are different mediums with different storytelling requirements. Number 1. The night bus has become a physical attraction at Universal theme parks. Following the success of the Harry Potter films, full-scale replicas of the night bus were built for the Wizarding World of Harry Potter attractions at Universal Studios in Orlando, Hollywood, and Osaka. These replicas are static photo opportunities where guests can board, meet a costume conductor, and interact with an animatronic shrunken head. The replicas were built using original production blueprints and photographs to ensure accuracy. They've become popular guest experiences, demonstrating the lasting cultural impact of the film's design work. The theme park versions are non-functional. They cannot be driven, but they faithfully recreate the exterior appearance of the buses used in the 2004 film. And that's the real story behind one of the most imaginative vehicles in film history. The night bus combined practical engineering, classic filmmaking techniques, and just enough digital magic to bring the impossible to life. If you enjoyed this deep dive, drop a comment with your favorite night bus moment, and don't forget to subscribe for more fact-driven film breakdowns.